Are we set to make a sensational move to sign Jadon Sancho? Today, my friends, we have so many big club news, transfer stories, and obviously the latest surrounding Joao Felix and his potential Chelsea return to discuss today. So hope you guys enjoy. Hit that like button, and thank you to everyone that showed love in yesterday's video. It was really exciting to talk football with Joe Cole, and if you guys want to see how our conversation was, you'll find a link to that video in the card above. Now, before we continue on, I have a very special announcement to make, as today's video is brought to you by Football Prizes. This week's competition gives you the chance to win a Christopher Nkunku signed and custom LED frame Chelsea display. This bespoke frame comes with a quota-made poster backdrop created by the dedicated designers at Football Prizes. Plus, it's fully customizable with inbuilt LED lights. So my friends, get involved. This competition also features 16 times instant win prizes, including memorabilia from Wesley Fofana, Sterling, and Ben Chilwell too. Tickets are selling out fast, so get involved very quickly, my friends. Thank you to Football Prizes, and getting back to the news. So let's start things with the first story, and we discuss the future surrounding Leslie Ugochukwu. Now, last night, this story was first broken by David Ornstein, and he reveals that Leslie is set to sign for Southampton on loan for the season. This morning, it has been confirmed that Leslie is already in Southampton, taking his medical, and he will be signing for them on loan, with no options to buy and no obligations to buy either. Now, does this loan move to Southampton necessarily help Leslie out in terms of staking his future at our football club? Southampton are one of the favourites to be relegated this season. I think the jump now from the Championship to the Premier League is growing bigger and bigger and bigger. It's getting hard to compete. And you think to yourself, what does it do for Leslie going to a team that are favourites for relegation? Now, that's one way to see things, but in my opinion, I see it differently. I think Southampton could be a great loan move for him because they play a similar style and brand of football. Under Russell Martin, they're a team that want to play on the ball. They're possession heavy. So I do think that this could set him up in the future with us by playing for a team that is more suited to our style compared to going to an Everton where you're playing with physical beasts that played nothing like how we do. So fingers crossed, Leslie has an injury-free season at Southampton. We've seen how many talents like Livramento, Lavia, plus a ton more have benefited and prospered from first playing minutes for Southampton, and I don't think it'll be any different for Leslie. Now, I admit, last season I grew a little bit cynical around Leslie. It wasn't cynicism around his quality, it was more cynicism around the fact that we have an abundance of midfield talent around a similar age group, and realistically, not all these kids are going to make it here. And I thought to myself, we could have used those funds in more suited areas of the team instead of hoarding in midfield. But you know what? I like to admit when I'm wrong too, and honestly, I was really inspired by how vibrant Leslie was this pre-season. One thing I stress all the time, if you play for us, I want to see if you're affecting the game, if you are adding to the game, if you are bringing something to the game with your performances. And that was one thing Leslie definitely did. And it made me think, why is he looking so confident? Oh, maybe that's because he's now settled in the country. I mean, he signed for us as a teenager. He's been here for 1 year now. He's more assured of himself. And now he has that confidence behind his game. He's showcasing the talents that made us pay that money to rent to sign him to begin with. And I have to say, he looks like a classy football player in the making. And if he really develops in the next 2 years, with his frame, with his skill, with his defensive abilities, with everything he has, he could be a very, very interesting player. So good luck to Leslie on loan at Southampton. That's the first story out of the way. And right now, you guys want to get the updates behind what is going on with Joao Felix and Conor Gallagher. Now, quick updates to discuss. As we know yesterday, news was pretty quiet. News was reconfirming things we already know, and that's a good thing in the context of what's happening right now, because it means that both clubs are knee-deep in negotiations. So let's discuss what we've learned since. Right now, Conor Gallagher has been assured by Diego Simeone that he sees him as a key, vital part of his team for next season, and to not lose hope at the fact that Atleti might give up on the deal and move on to different targets. Atleti have also reconfirmed their faith in Connor by mentioning that they will go from right to the end until it becomes absolutely clear and evident that no deal will be found. So things are looking pretty promising. Romano confirmed the fact that yesterday negotiations are still looking pretty positive around Felix and Conor Gallagher, and the rumours coming out from more smaller media publications also confirmed this growing optimism that a deal is set to be found. Now, in the last video I discussed on Joao Felix, I mentioned a Portuguese report that alluded to the fact that we had made an initial offer of 35 million as a fixed fee with an additional 30 million in future add-ons. Now, that would make sense for us, and similar to the deal for Mudryk, where everyone still mentions the fact that he costs 100 million, but he never did. If he fulfilled his potential, activated all those clauses, the deal would have gone up to around 100 million or 88 million pounds. But at this moment, that definitely won't be happening. And we found an amazing deal to structure the 62 million payments over 5 years, and Mudryk signed for less than 100,000 a week. So this on paper was great negotiating. So it only makes sense that we look to find similar terms for Joao Felix, but ideally for Atleti, they want more money up front as a fixed fee. So it was good to know that the reports of a 35 million offer plus 30 million in future add-ons that weren't always attainable had also been confirmed by Spanish reports. But since then, we're learning of more evolution in the negotiations, and currently from a reporter, he alludes to the fact that Atleti would prefer around 40 million to 45 million as a fixed fee, with the rest of the payments to come in additional add-ons. Atleti ideally would like to receive around 60 million euros in total for the sale of Joao Felix. So it seems like we are slowly getting an understanding behind the figures it could take for us to actually complete this deal. As we already know, Felix will take a wage cut. He has said yes to the deal. Jorge Mendes is currently on our side to negotiate with both parties, and it's quite fitting that both Connor and Felix's futures are intrinsic at this point in time, because this is probably the final opportunity for both clubs to make big money from their sales. Of course, Gallagher's contract expires very soon. From January, he can sign pre-contract, so this is our final opportunity to secure pure profit from him, which can help us with our PSR and other financial aspects in the future. And from Atleti's side, this is the final opportunity. They could earn big money for Felix's sale after banking on the prospect that Felix's loan spells over the recent seasons would have been enough of a success to be able to boost his market value. But the reality is that isn't going to happen. The fact there is willingness from both parties to strike a deal is the most optimistic thing about this news, so we continue to wait for more updates to come out today and over the course of this weekend. So that's everything currently around Joao Felix and Conor Gallagher. Let us know your thoughts below. And this now takes us on to another crazy report. This time it comes courtesy of the Daily Mail, and they report that we are showing some surprising, shocking interest in Jadon Sancho. Now, does this story confirm that we are looking at possible alternatives in case any deals for Joao Felix were to fall through? In my opinion, that makes sense, because clubs, of course, will have backup options on top of backup options on top of backup options. It's quite clear we won't be relying exclusively on Mudryk and Sterling to be our star wingers down that left flank. We want reinforcement. So let's go down to discussing this story. And as we were knowing before, Paris Saint-Germain were showing strong interest in tying a deal down for Jadon Sancho. But since then, they are now set to sign Wonder Kid Desiree Doué from Rennes. And obviously that means there is no need now for Jadon Sancho. United had hoped to earn around 51 million for his sale, because Sancho is currently earning around 290k a week. Ridiculous money. So continuing on with the reports, the Mail reports that 2 offers have been made. One offer included a fixed fee plus the inclusion of 2 unnamed academy players. You guys can maybe hypothesize who that could be. The other negotiation option is a lot more realistic, and this would have been a loan move with an obligation to buy attached to that loan move. Would you guys possibly consider Jadon Sancho on loan for a year? Quick thoughts right now in the comments, but I'll continue. And as we know, Sancho and Ten Hag's relationship was strained last season. Sancho felt like he was under unfair treatment because he was getting scapegoated by Ten Hag, and that was the catalyst for their relationship to disintegrate, with Sancho then showing some subsequent dissent towards the manager, which led to Sancho being ostracized from the first team, which led to him going back to Dortmund on loan, where he was able to showcase his talents again in the Champions League and in the Bundesliga. Now, I'm going to be a bit hypothetical now as I close this news section off, but see it this way. I've always personally felt that Sancho struggled at Man United because United need more pure pace down the wings. That is important for them. They play quick balls over the top to release them 1v1. Sancho is not that type of winger. He's in that family of what I would call more playmaker style wingers. You know, quick examples, Neymar, who is like at the peak of that family tree. Felix, Sancho, they're not necessarily blessed with like incredible physical capacities, but they're quick thinkers with their heads right. They're phenomenal technically, superb in tight spaces, and they create for their teammates as well too. But to really harness their strengths, you need to have a great supporting cast around them. And at Man United, the wingers are more the focal point that have to create from nothing. And Sancho doesn't necessarily get the support that he needs to have that positional freedom that would help his game. So it makes sense that we would possibly look at him as an alternative to Felix, because with Maresca's positional style play and the fact that it really heavily emphasizes connections on the field, you can imagine scenarios where Sancho is starting on the left, then he has support from the underlapping runs of a Cucurella who's inverting and overlapping. He has support from the wide midfield players playing close to him. He has the support of the striker that is moving in the channels to be near him too. This is how players like Sancho thrive. Funny enough, I think if you were to do this mad hypothetical Mudryk-Sancho swap, Mudryk would probably thrive more at United, using his pace a lot more as an outlet. And I think Sancho would actually thrive a lot more with us, as we are more of a possession-heavy team with positional style aspects. I think it's an interesting story, it's one to watch. I'm not going to rule it out because, as we've seen, as you get closer to the end of transfer windows, you know, players out from nowhere normally get signed, and this is how business tends to conclude during this period. But I have to quickly say, I think it's quite funny that we didn't believe in Hudson-Odoi enough to find a contract extension for him to then loan him to Nottingham Forest, because if we had more belief in him, Hudson-Odoi could have been an option for us now. I mean, to let him go for 5 million is kind of criminal, because he ended last season so strong that I think he's back again. I'm hearing he's full circle where once upon a time everyone happily wrote him off. Mudryk was like the fabled answer. We've now realized he isn't, and we're now looking at a player in Jadon Sancho we originally thought might have been one of our first team guys, with Hudson on the left and Sancho on the right wing. Like, if you guys remember all those summers back. But let's see what happens. Of course, Sancho is a Chelsea fan. I don't think he'd say no to returning back to London and playing for us, but I think our priorities are elsewhere. But crazier things have happened come the end of windows. So share your thoughts and opinions. Would you like him as an alternative, or do you think this makes no sense? Let us know below. And we end things by discussing all things club news and transfers. We are learning that Axel Disasi now is growing frustrated and is considering his future at this football club. I'm going to let you guys know this. Over a week ago, I was told Disasi was not happy and he wants out. Now, I don't do in the know stuff anymore. I think it's pretty redundant. If anything, I'm not going to lie, I'm fortunate enough with the platform I have to be able to get access to hearing things behind the scenes. And at this point, I just kind of keep it to myself. It's like one of the perks of having the channel that, you know what I mean? I don't know if I'm being selfish or not. You guys let me know. But it doesn't surprise me. I think now that you have Badia, Cole, Fofana, Tosin, plus fullbacks who can play in a back three now, Disasi is looking pretty redundant at this point in time. Now, there is big interest from clubs in France and in Italy. We see what happens. If Disasi goes, could that maybe save Jalabah's career with us? Maybe, maybe not, or maybe only temporarily. So let's watch this space to see what happens. We move on to Madueke, and we're learning that the club would entertain any offers of 60 million plus if they came in for Noni Madueke. That would be a significant profit after we only signed him for around like, I think 28.5 or 30 million pounds at the time. Now, he was a signing that was heavily pushed by Graham Potter, who wanted him at Brighton. And to be fair, I can see why, because he's showcased his talents near the end of last season. And I think he was one of the stronger performers this pre-season. Personally, I think it would be terrible to even consider entertaining a sell when he's one of the consistent performers in the team. It strengthens the squad as well, and over the course of what's set to be a very long season, having Madueke's strong carries, that will add a new dimension to the squad as a whole. So let's see what happens there. We now move on to Angelo news, as we are learning courtesy of the BBC that the club would be open to a sale if it comes through, even though a loan could possibly happen before the window ends. I think this is a bit of a shame to hear. We only signed this kid last summer for around like 15 million, and he was sent on loan immediately to Strasbourg. Now, I need to say this, but one of the rumors going on behind the scenes currently is that there is this potential mooted transfer ban that could maybe stop us from signing players over consecutive seasons. Now, nothing's been confirmed yet. I'm sure this season we'll finally get answers. I've alluded to this before, and if this does become a factual thing, this recontextualizes the business we do. Or does it really? Because after signing so many young players within 18 months, already you're seeing the likes of Petrovic, you're seeing the likes of Dacho Fofana, Kasaide, Angelo now, and a few others who have been mooted with potential exits already. And that kind of contradicts this whole grand vision and strategy of having top talents within our model. We are controlling with loan spells, safeguarding our future against any potential transfer ban, and having developed players that could be of use for us over the next 1 to 2 seasons. That isn't happening. If Angelo gets sold, he won't be sold for significant profit. And I think it's disappointing because the moment it wasn't confirmed that he was going to be immediately loaned back to Strasbourg, I had doubts around his future because I knew he wouldn't be remaining here. And it reiterates the common criticism I have of this new ownership. It's not the models per se, but it's been the execution of these models. It just felt like if we can't really do justice to every type of aspect of the club we want to build and regrow, focus and prioritize the first team and then slowly improve other areas over the years. What does it do for us after wasting so much money off of Fafanas and co? We're selling them for peanuts. I'd be surprised if we made significant profits on their sale. And if anything, I think it miscommunicates the model we're trying to sell when it comes to signing other young players. We've already seen many of them reject us, with Pedro Lima this summer being the famous example who turned us down to sign for Wolves instead. Currently, it's all talk without any actions, and the fact that some of your more promising talents like Angelo's future isn't guaranteed or sorted out already doesn't bode too well for the future. But let's see what happens. If anything, I think the club would prefer to loan him right now, but if they're forced to due to circumstances, and it's these circumstances that come out unexpectedly, I think they would entertain the sale if a good offer came in, and that's a story for everyone. But to quickly end things on Strasbourg are still prioritizing a loan spot for George Petrovic. There is currently one final international loan spot, and Strasbourg are hoping that Petro can be the keeper they can rely upon for next season. So let's see if Petrovic is even down for something like that. So my friends, that is all the news reports that came out over the past 24 hours this morning and this afternoon. Share your thoughts and opinions. How do you feel about things? Do you feel confident? Do you feel pessimistic? Let us know. And on that note, I'm the EFC. This is BlueLionsTV. See you all soon. Cool.